Okay, hey, we're to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. We have another review for you from the brand Baltany. A little about them. They were founded just back in 2010, and their mission is pretty simple. They want to redesign classic, iconic timepieces using the latest watchmaking technology. Their goal is to create the most historically accurate homages ever made while also maintaining the spirit of the original iconic timepieces along with of course their own modern interpretations. Now in terms of the type of watch, this is a chronograph. Some key common characteristics, and if you're looking for a chrono, of course you're going to want that external or you're going to want to see some external pushers to activate timing functions, multiple subdials to measure elapsed time, often featuring additional scales dependent on that subgenre. In terms of the subgenre, in this case, the Seiko VK Meca-Quartz boom across micro brands has been around for quite some time, hitting some really high highs in terms of asking prices, guys. Let's not forget it wasn't too long ago that certain micro brands were charging around $700 for watches that had these movements in them. So definitely has been a very premium type of offering for a lot of brands, and in this case somehow it still feels quite premium even at a really entry-level price of under $150 at $149 direct. This is their Tuxedo Chrono S5050 model, and it's an homage to the Longines Heritage Classic Chronograph Tuxedo L2830493. And I have to say, I'm pretty impressed with this piece, as I have been with many Baltanys before it. So I'm looking forward to sharing it with you guys. So with that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. All right, guys, so as you can see, the typical Baltany goodies here. You get this cool little zip pouch, and everything is pretty self-contained. You get the warranty cards, instructions, you get the little tools and whatnot with the punch, as well as another tip for spring bars. So very cool, very small, but at least useful, right? Also, you get the little cleaning cloth here. So I don't know if I've ever kind of shared the stuff that they come in, but I will say that this is a pretty useful piece of kit, so I like that. So why not show it to you guys. Now let's see the watch itself. Check that out. So really nicely done, and you guys can see there's that nice gliding. Ooh, look at that, thermally blued hands, jumping ahead. But let's go ahead and get to some of the dimensions here. 39 millimeter diameter, 12.4 millimeters thick, right? 46.6 millimeters lug to lug, stainless steel, brushed and polished. It's actually a really nice mixture of brushed and polished, and although there aren't any transitions, let me give this a quick little wipe here off camera. And then a little dust off as well. Okay, so as you can see, you get a nice stepped bezel there, which goes into that nice boxed sapphire with inner AR coating. You have polished sides there, which are just a little bit smudgy from my fingertips. And then you do have kind of a mixture, right? You have the brushed bezel, polished sides, polished pushers, and of course, ooh, yes, that nice snap back feature. So some of you that are watching this might not really know what a Meca-Quartz movement is. So let me tell you about the one that's powering this. Seiko Instruments VK64, which basically has quartz timing, but a mechanical chrono action. So these pushers are not buttons, right? They're not electronic buttons. They're actually mechanical pushers, which is great in terms of the tactile engagement with the piece. This is going to have a 1/5 second sweep in terms of that interval timing, and then it has a multi-headed lever which disengages and snaps back to instant zero versus that sweep back to zero that you might be used to seeing with other full quartz chronograph. So this chrono mechanism that's in here actually consists of over 20 individual parts, similar to a traditional mechanical chronograph gear train. So that is one of the things that is really, really neat about this piece. And because they actually decided to not use the third subdial, which has a running seconds hand that ticks, it's nice to get a bit of movement by just running the chronograph from time to time. So the case back is sterile, as you can see, but it is screw in. And then you get to this dial, which I think is kind of the main event here. Check this gorgeous thing out. I'm going to try to get it close. Also getting a little bit of flecto on there so you guys can see the beautiful blue highlights. You have this matte two-tone dial, which I would say is a bit more of a kind of a silvery tone and an anthracite versus like a true white and a true black. So these are going to still have a very, very nice contrast, but I think be a bit more pleasing to the eye, just having that touch of warmth. Also, you can see that those subdials there do have some polished surrounds, which is very nice and plays off of the polished hour and minute hands as well. So very, very handsome. 50 meters of water resistance. This actually has a screw down crown, believe it or not, which is very interesting. I wasn't expecting that. So you can see the threads there. The crown pops out. Of course, you don't need to wind this because it is quartz, but just something to consider. So although it is only 50 meters of water resistance that's rated for this, I mean, I feel like it's probably a little bit more of a solid 50 meters than you would get if it was just a push-pull crown. So that's pretty nice. You also have 20 millimeter lugs, which make this, you know, really prime for different types of strap changes. But I will say, I'm again just really impressed with Baltany's leather strap. So this has a 2 millimeter taper down to 18 millimeters on the buckle end, and look at this beautifully well machined, fully milled. Even the finger here is milled and brushed. Now, it's not signed, but that might be a good thing because you might actually want to put this strap on other watches, more expensive watches, because this is actually pretty supple, and you can see it has those nice little accents there with the upper stitch, which is very much in style, and it just gives you that little pop, right, without the full stitch you would get. It just gives it that nice vintage aesthetic, which I can absolutely appreciate. It just looks darn good. So again, that I'm just impressed, right? So you saw the impressive, I mean, like, I'm almost worried by the quality that they're able to do this at this price point. Like, again, like, it just makes you kind of question. Hopefully the craftsmen that are working on these pieces are fairly compensated, because this is just really, really, really well done. And then again, the quality on this strap, it just feels quite nice. Even the sides are sealed really nicely. So there's just a lot here for the money. So I mean, yeah, it is an homage watch. It's not an original design, but I will say, if you do want something that just looks good and is really solidly constructed, something like this could definitely speak to you. There's definitely lots of folks that aren't necessarily a particular fan of a particular brand, and they just like getting a nice deal, right? Getting nice specs. There's a lot of spec hunters. Believe me, all my years on YouTube, I hear from them all the time. Spec hunters, all they care about is specs. Well, if for those of you that just love great specs for a really affordable price, it's tough to argue with something like this. I mean, they even thermally blued the handset there, right? And it's even has a nice piece of box dome sapphire. So there's just, again, it's impressive, like in terms of what Baltany are able to do at the price point. But with that said, let's actually get this piece on the wrist and see how it wears. Okay guys, as you can see, this thing sits quite beautifully. Now, the Longines that this is actually paying homage to is a 40mm watch, so this is actually slightly smaller at 39. But of course, if I do get it a bit too close to the camera lens, you're gonna get some perspective distortion. So what I like to do is keep my wrist nice and low, and then just tighten up the shot so you guys can still get a detailed look while just keeping a bit of a truer aspect ratio of how this may sit on your own wrist. And I will say that 46.6mm lug to lug is I think quite manageable, especially considering they are quite thin and you do have a nice 20mm lug width. Now some of you are thinking that looks awfully thick. Well, I mean, for if this was a mechanical chronograph, it would be much thicker at the price point anyway, right? Yes, there are some in-house thin chronographs out there, but you know, of course they're going to cost much more. I don't think any of you guys are going to be comparing this against a very thin mechanical Daytona from Rolex, right? There's completely different price points. But when it comes to, let's say, something that'd be powered by a Slita or an ETA Valjoux movement, this is going to be quite a bit noticeably thinner. And for something that is quite dressy with this Tuxedo setup, I think that makes perfect sense. This is just very cool. And of course, because it is a chronograph, it does add a bit of sportiness in terms of, you know, the functionality, in terms of the aesthetic. But this just really is quite classy with that beautiful two-tone kind of sector-like layout there. Just fantastic. The handset, very smooth. Everything flows, guys. Even that little stepped bezel there that props up that beautiful box dome sapphire. So very, very cool. Look at that polish. Nice brush there. Everything is just nice and solid, even including, check that. I can't get over the pin buckle. I'm very, very impressed with that. And the strap, which is normally not what you hear when you're looking at something that is on a strap that was provided by the brand. Typically, that's kind of where a lot of brands may save money. In this case, it looks like Baltany spent a little bit more to, again, just provide you with that high quality option. So very cool. With that said, although there is no loom on here, let's go ahead and set up for some low light transition and closing thoughts. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the lights here. All right, so no loom, but one thing I always like to work in is a bit of low light transition, because you're not always going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of times you're going to find yourself coming in and out of buildings, walking underneath overhangs, or maybe just hanging out underneath the shade of a tree. So it is nice to see what these colors, textures, and finishes render like in less than optimal lighting. It may even include a bit of harsh lighting, which might, you know, expose any types of production defects. But here you're just going to see a really nice clean execution. No, this isn't luxury level execution, guys, but man, this is not cheaply executed either. So I'm quite impressed with, in terms of the just the functional beauty that you're gonna find in this piece. And again, the trade-off, right, is that they didn't have to do much design work, because they took something that already existed and trying to just basically put their own, you know, spin on it, whether it be in terms of the scale, in terms of the cost saving, in terms of things that they felt they could clean up here and there. But I think they did a really, really handsome job with this one, as they typically do. They do have a good eye for design, and that's one of the things that you'll see be kind of the separation for a lot of these micro brands that kind of come and go. If you have a look that is really nice to go along with that tall spec sheet, then hey, you're gonna probably have some longevity. It's not enough to just have those affordable prices and have all of those items, because not everyone just buys based off the spec sheet. A lot of people just buy what they want. They buy what they want to wear. And I definitely see this as something that people might want to wear. So closing thoughts from you guys on the wrist, really classic proportions. What I like here is the versatility to be dressed up or dressed down. Yeah, you could wear this in a t-shirt very comfortably, and not just because it's more affordable, but because that timeless design aesthetic. But I could also see this dressed up, right? You could see this peeking out from underneath a dress shirt cuff easily, and I think it would still look right at home, especially with that tuxedo colorway. So in terms of model variants, this is also available with a light brown leather strap, which just I think leans more heavily on that casual side of the house, but I think with the black it is going to be a little bit more versatile, just because black still goes with everything, although the earthy brown tones, because of that warmer kind of silver tone dial, I think you could actually still get a lot of enjoyment with that way. And considering that these are actually pretty nice OEM straps, you're actually, the nice thing is you can buy this and not worry about buying another strap for it. So I think that's also pretty cool. So in terms of comparable models, guys, honestly, most Meca-Quartz chronographs kind of fall into the vintage motorsports themed space, while Baltany's Tuxedo Chrono kind of takes a dressier path, and I have to say I like that. I like that there's some differentiation there, although maybe all the components might be similar to what you'll get in terms of, you know, stainless steel case, sapphire crystal, screw down crown, which I thought was a nice bonus, even a nice leather strap, right? There's things are very competitive right now within the space, and again, I think it's cool that they're offering something like this. So for me, guys, the bottom line is, at just $149, this classy and well executed little homage just offers a whole lot of value for money. And I know that there's plenty of you that are just, that is your mission in collecting, is just finding those value propositions, right? We all love a good deal. So I think for those of you that are, you know, just purposely searching out these types of deals, these types of gems can be very, very rewarding and can be a lot of fun. So with that said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do it like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys. Actually, and a big shout out to Baltany for sending this piece in for me to share with you guys. They've been very cool, and they kind of send me emails with updates in terms of things that they have coming in the pipeline, and you know, anything that I find interesting, they're always happy to kind of send it in. So let me know if there's other models that maybe you guys are aware of that I'm not, also that you might want to take a look at here. Thanks, guys.